Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, the place for internet technology professionals whose work-life balance plan has imploded. We are here to provide solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Natalie Forest is America's leading expert in personal performance, as well as a founder of Success Revolutions and Revolutionize Your Potential, with an insight into human programming that helps catapult every individual and team towards achieving beyond their dreams. Natalie supports you to lead your life, your business, your work, your way, thus allowing you to leave stress behind and be you. Today, Natalie is going to talk about how you can improve your performance and release the stress, increase the happiness, especially if you're in a company that just lays people off all the time, and collaborate with others through being you. Welcome to the show, Dr. Natalie Forest.
Thank you so much, Joanne. Thank you for the nice introduction. You have such a nice, warm, welcoming voice. I can't even say how nice it is to hear that and to feel the energy that comes from it. So thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here, and I have realized that people often are not themselves. And I have realized that because I've been there. And so I'm happy today to share a few insights, to give a couple of nuggets, 2, 3, maybe more than a couple. And what I want to really talk about is what I consider to be a genuine misunderstanding when it comes to performance. So I want to start out with that. It all leads to being you. And just briefly, thank you so much for reading my bio, and there's always so much that sounds so official. So let me just tell you that today I am living my life. And every day when I wake up with an idea of what else I can add to my life, as well as what else can I subtract, take away from my life to make it even better. So in other words, the question that I wake up with is usually one that goes to the nth of, how can I make life even better? You may already be living a great life, but clearly you're listening, so maybe you're looking for a few insights. Maybe you're at the beginning of realizing that there's more to your life. And I have found throughout my life that asking the question, how, is really, really crucial, because it opens up the energies. It invites other people to provide you with some answers, with some ideas, with some suggestions. You may not take them because that's your choice.
Yeah, I'm listening to you, and the how is interesting, because I sometimes would ask, what? First my question would be, maybe, what do I do next? And then I would allow the energy to come to me to tell me what I could do next. But the how is a new thing for me. So how does the how work in the real world?
Well, how does the how work? Well, for one, it opens you up to not trying to analyze. The minute when we ask what, and I'm a historian by trade, so I know all about research, analysis, and so forth. That's really my trained background, a researcher. And, so when you're asking the question, what, you're almost in a analytical action step kind of mindset. And you tend to then say, okay, it's a question of what do I do next? And whenever that idea comes of what do I do next, you are setting up a path which does not necessarily allow you to look at the end result, because you might already get stopped on the first path. Whenever you ask what, you're already starting to create certain analytical questions of, is it really going to be possible? versus the question how is just like, how can I do this? Oh yeah, I want to smile more. You're not going to say how you're going to smile more, what's going to get you there, why you want to do it. You're leaving out the analysis a little bit.
Oh, that's the key, because analysis is not my. I'm more intuitive than analytical,
Mm-hmm.
even though I use my whole brain, depending on the situation, up, down, left, right, and there are people saying that it doesn't matter, but there must be. I think it does matter, but I think the whole brain. However, I think the whole brain is what's important. And if you're saying to me that if I continue to ask what do I do next, for
Mm-hmm.
example, that is an analytical perspective, that is not, it does not work with my own personal humanity style.
Yeah. That's really key. And what you just said is really crucial because a lot of us, we have trained ourselves to be more analytical. So you just mentioned you use both sides of the brain. I do too. And it is adaptable. So when I need to do certain things that are detail oriented, that require step by step by step, I bring in that analytical side. So in order to get from A to B, what do I need to do? What's step 2, 3, 4? Versus my intuitive, humanity, service oriented side. How can I make the world a better place? And then I go into my vision building, my dream boards, and just put the brainstorming out there and let it flow. Once that vision is done, you go back to the analytical side.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. It makes a huge difference. I've just had a brain, shift. And
Great.
so I'm serious. This is really important to me because everything I figure I learn lots of things every day and I never know what I'm going to learn. Here we are. I'm learning about what as opposed to how, but I'm saying the what. Now I'm learning the how of things,
Mm-hmm.
and it opens even without spending time on it right now because we're speaking about helping people, release the stress.
Mm-hmm.
And could go, how do I release the stress? And magically solutions may appear in front of them. But for me,
Yes.
I'm looking at this opens up a whole world for me to say how. It's kind of good. This is a great prospect and a great opportunity. So do more miracles, Natalie.
I don't know. I don't know if I can. That one's already out the door. But the other thing that you said, and I don't want to use the word but because it's always an end. You just mentioned that it's like opening your mind. Right by that, by switching from the analytical to the more open-ended, that's one step to stress release. Because you're
There,
no longer occupying yourself with, do I have all the resources I need? Oh my God, what is next? Oh my goodness, what shall I do? Who should I call? You're just saying, how can I do this? Oh yeah, let's just, give me ideas. So that's really step one in stress release already.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true because it's a different path. It's aligned with the what, but it's just in a different direction, slightly veering so that you can do both. You can do both things. As you say, you use the how first. When you get the how together, then you go to the steps for the what, which would be the analytical side. This is exciting. I think people who are I'm serious. This is really exciting to me. So
I
I would
love it.
think
No, I love it. I love it. And I'm thinking about what to do next so that you stay this excited and that the
oh I would
listeners are going to stay as excited.
well, I'll stay excited now. But I need you to tell me some more. How can they release stress and how can they improve their performance by collaboration and still dealing with the how?
Okay.
How do you meld those three?
Well, you really melt them, and this is kind of a very different approach. I call myself a revolutionary for a reason, and I didn't come up with that term. Somebody else actually did. The idea here is that we live in a highly competitive, comparative world. Okay, so I'm going to move away from the how to just what is the society we live in? And in most instances, it's competitive, it's comparative. Whether you're on social media, which is like the death of authenticity in many ways, everybody compares. Oh my God, Lady X is flying over here. The gentleman John is doing this. They're all so wonderful, so beautiful, so great people. You're doing the comparison. Advertising. It's all about, do you have a car that is as good as your neighbor's car? Do you have a job that is as good as your neighbor's job? So it's comparison. And then it's the competition as well. And this applies to, everything I'm saying applies to individuals, to entrepreneurs, to people who have a job. There really is no difference in that, even though we're all individuals. But those are the socially conditioned atmospheres that we grow up in. So at a job, it's very comparative and competitive. You have annual performance observations. You're going to be evaluated. Are you doing as good as your colleague? Are you going to get the promotion or somebody else? Why is that? How are you going to get home and tell your spouse, your family members that you did not get the promotion, but somebody else did? So I'm laying this groundwork for us to understand all of the social conditioning that we pretty much start being ingrained with at a very early age, and it becomes part of us. Therefore, we are stressing ourselves out by living up to those social standards. The job, the promotion, the car, the house. Even in our semi-private lives, when you go to a holiday party, to an event for your job, if you go to a networking, even if you have kids and you go to the birthday party of a peer of your daughter or your son, what is the first question that a lot of people will ask you? It's,
what do you do?
What do you do? Exactly. What do you do for a living?
Right.
And then, yeah?
That is so impersonal too. I really,
Yes.
and I really, sometimes I get snarky. In the past, I have gotten snarky about that. I seriously, because I find it rude.
Mm-hmm.
It's rude first, and it's
Mm-hmm.
nosy. And then I'll just say, when they say, what do you do? I say as little as possible.
Like that.
Well, you don't know me, you don't know me. And even though everything, to me, I look at everything when you're talking about the child's birthday party and comparison and and then the competitive, it's all high school.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything, I don't think many people, even though they have degrees, I don't think many people who don't have the confidence that's really required to function in life, you really need a lot of confidence, you really need a lot of chutzpah, and you really need a lot of self-esteem. Other than that, it's high school. You're comparing yourself. You have to, put yourself out. My job is better than your job. My dress is better than your dress. My husband, partner, ex, whatever, and my kids go to a better school. That is such a waste of time.
Yes.
I don't think people realize what they're doing to themselves.
That's because it's social conditioned.
Yep.
And it creates a certain framework for us to interact. This is all key. And what you said, I couldn't agree more. Like when I'm at a birthday party for my daughter, I usually say, I'm Felicity's mom. What do you do? I'm Felicity's mom. That's why I'm here right now. I'm Felicity's mom, because I don't know if otherwise I wouldn't be here or interact with you, right?
Sure.
But those are the questions, and people still believe that it'll give them some insights. Now, having that set up like this, it shows us that very few people, and you just hinted at that, very few people are actually themselves or know who they are anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know who you are, well, of course, you're going to buy into all of that. And you're going to stress yourself out entirely all the time because of your focus on, I got to live up to those standards. Those standards may not mean anything to you at all, but most of us at a certain point in life lost track of our values, of our ideas, of our dreams, because we've played into this role. And as psychologists say, by about the age of 10, your character is formed.
Absolutely.
So think about that. And, having a daughter myself, that's been part of my research after I already knew where I was going with this. It verified a lot. Initially, when we watched children, I talk about that in one of my books. Initially, when we looked at children on the playground, they love everybody. They don't care, right? Mm-hmm. Until somebody starts pointing out, oh, don't play with that person. Oh, be careful over here. Oh, don't fall from there. So even though we're probably doing this out of love, we are pointing all of the things out that actually begin to take away from their own individual character, and we are superimposing social conditions.
Yes, it's our fears that we are transcending to our children.
Right. So once you're older, you've lost sight of who you were at the age of 3 or 4. You don't remember.
Right.
However, if you get back to who you are, you will, just like you mentioned, you don't really care anymore. I don't really care anymore. It makes life so much easier. So once you realize who you are, which of course is a Pandora's box in some ways, but once you realize, in other words, what is inside your realm of changing things and outside your realm of changing things,
mm-hmm.
you come to a consequence, which is also a choice. I call this my A plus B equals C phenomenon when I do stress management classes. So A are all the things that you can't do anything about. For example, the fact that you need to have an income. Therefore, you may need to have a job. There's nothing you can do about that, because we live in a world where you have to pay rent or pay your mortgage. So it's outside your realm of influence in that sense. You have to have a job. And I'm pointing out the job issue, by the way, because a lot of people always say, I hate my job, I don't like my job, I wish I had a different one, but they don't get out of it. So your job, for example, is one item that you can't control. B, however, is everything you can control, such as your attitude when you get to work. If you go to work with the thought, I hate my job, I hope it's going to be over soon, what does your performance, this is the link to your performance, what does your performance at work look like? Your performance probably is going to reflect the fact that you wish you were somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Okay. Because this is the part that you have control over, your own brain. If you say, I have to have a job right now, even though I've sent out 100 applications for other jobs, this is the only job I have. And you start looking at it from the perspective of, what does this job allow me to do? It allows me to go on vacation. It allows me to take my child to horseback riding. It allows me to have, an 80-inch TV, whatever it may be. So I'm beginning to be grateful for the job in a sense, even though I'm looking for another one, but I have made peace internally with the fact that this job is actually allowing me to have my current lifestyle and possibly allowing me to have a better lifestyle in the future. So when I go into work now, I might have to take a deep breath before I go inside the office, but I'm saying, hey, this is a good thing that I have the job. This is how I can afford everything I really want to do. And you go in, and now your whole, people call it mindset, I call it attitude or mind flex, is much better. Now when you get a task, how are you going to perform that task?
Much better.
Your performance is now better. And really, all that has changed is your attitude. And of course, there's more to it. You know, if we were to talk even longer, there's a little bit more to it. But your attitude right now has changed. Once you have that attitude, you're beginning to release a little bit of stress because you're not having that negative self-talk all the time. You're also beginning to understand that maybe one of your values is to actually not move up. So you're beginning to look at your own values. I call that know your purpose. Your purpose may not be at your job. Your purpose may be, once you get home, to be the greatest dog walker ever, or to be the best gardener, or to take care of your family members, or to just be the best student anybody could ever be. So your purpose is to live your life and be you. The job may just be one aspect that allows you to be you. Therefore, when you go into your job and you are having a more positive attitude, you will be less stressed. You will also stop trying to live up to somebody else's standards. Now, of course, there's a caveat here, because there are certain standards we have to live with, abide by when we have a job, even in business. So I'm also talking to all of the entrepreneurs. Being an entrepreneur is a hard job because you have to be self-driven. There are certain parameters, certain guidelines that we still need to abide by. We might not like them, but they're there. We deal with them because we understand that it's part of what we need to do. We don't necessarily fuss about them all the time, even though some people do, and then it becomes, of course, very stressful. But if you're at work and you're realizing that I don't really want that corner office, because if I get that corner office, or if I take my business to the next level, I will, of course, need to put more hours per week into those tasks. If I get that job and I put more hours into that task, if I get that contract as an entrepreneur and I put more hours into that task, I will have less time to do what I really want to do. So,
this is what people don't realize when they're trying to climb whatever power ladder that they have created. And by the way, I'm talking to the listeners right now. The information that Dr. Natalie Forest has given you right now doesn't require that you spend any money. This just requires that you become a thoughtful human being and stop complaining all the time and look at how you live your life. As she is saying right now, do you really want the corner office with windows on each side? Do you really want that? There's a price to pay for everything as a human being, period. There is a price to pay. We've chosen to be in human bodies, and we have to decide, what you're willing to give up to get what you think you really want. And that's what Natalie is speaking about now. So as we give us the C, you've got A plus B.
But exactly. Now let's see the consequence. Okay. The consequence then, and I'm leading into that, is A is out of your realm of, B is what we're dealing with right now. Your mindset. You're looking at your values. C, you are going to choose the life you want. You're going to choose you. The consequence is whatever A plus B designs. If you understand, you have to have a job. Now you're going into the job, you are able to figure out your values. You're no longer as stressed. Now you're choosing. This is the first step to be you, and you have chosen as a consequence less stress. In addition, the C also stands for collaboration, because you are now open to collaborate and help and support others. Once you do that, because at this point you now know, this is what I want to do at this job, this is what I want to do as an entrepreneur, this is what I want to do as a mom, as a dad, you've got it all laid out. Now you have a choice, a consequence. That very often leads to collaboration, because you are no longer afraid to collaborate. You are no longer afraid and stressed out on who is going to get the better marks or the higher pay raise or the better offer. You are now able to collaborate, and what happens when we collaborate is every collaborator, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, works on the issues that they are passionate about and strong in. So you no longer, for example, as an entrepreneur, in my instance, I don't like dealing with taxes. So I collaborate with an accountant who takes care of my taxes. That is a stress release for me. If I do an event, I have an event planner who does all of the stuff that would get me into my analytical versus my vision mindset. We're collaborating. She gets the limelight, I get the limelight. Even at home, you can collaborate. Who's going to do the dishes? Who's going to take the trash out?
I think with the people, I think with the people who are listening, even if it's just, and I say just, not to minimize, my IT people, the CIOs, the CEOs, the PMPs, the producers, they make enough money that they can hire people at home to do things for them that they don't want to do.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I think people don't think outside this tiny box that they have created. And I agree that the more things you give away that you don't like to do, you're going to be happier. You're going to be healthier. You're going to be much more relaxed.
And this also applies, because you just mentioned, CIOs and so forth. This very much applies to teams. Because I do success training also with teams, right? Performance, even though it's an individual thing, impacts the whole team. Think about the team, talking to the audience who may be team leaders. Is your team productive and profitable? Is it producing the results you desire? If not, we'll want to take a look at everybody's performance, which means we want to take a look at everybody's strengths, weaknesses, and how much they are happy or stressed and why. And this is a soft skill, of course. We don't always look at that as team leaders, but we have to. A lot of times people get into a job and they're being assigned a certain task, whether they like it or not, because it's part of the job description. And if your team is in a highly competitive state of mind, they are more likely, and we see that in many instances in the real world, they are more likely to obstruct each other, to hinder each other, and to sabotage each other, not on purpose, but by their actions.
Right.
Versus creating an environment where every single team member's performance is valued, is appreciated, and you create an environment in which everybody can flourish. It's very different. It's based on collaboration versus competition.
Well, on that note, I want to make sure that everybody takes advantage, maybe not everybody, but as many as that choose out there, that Dr. Natalie Forest is providing a complimentary 20-minute consultation. And if you're on my website listening to this, you can see the link down below, the show quotes. And if you're on my Facebook fan page, you will also see the link that you can go to that and schedule 20 minutes with her, because you're listening to just a few minutes over 20 right now, and look at all the information you've received. And I would strongly suggest those who are listening, listen to this podcast again. I find that listening to things more than once makes a huge difference, because you'll pick up things you may have missed. And refer this podcast to your friends, your frenemies, your work cohorts, your teammates, your supervisor, your boss, your own CIO or project manager or producer, because this will help every one of you get on the same page with Dr. Natalie Forest. Well, Natalie, I want to ask you in closing, what has been a lesson or advice that has stuck with you throughout the years?
I think the most important one, and it might sound like a platitude, is follow your heart. Don't worry about what you should do according to somebody else. Because if you do something that you should do versus something that you enjoy doing or find reason to do, it will not work. It'll stress you out. It'll make you feel bad, and you're going to be in a downward spiral.
Does everybody get that who's listening? Because I must say that guest after guest, and of course most people that I speak with, be yourself. Be who you are, not who you think you ought to be in order to please others. Again, we're back to high school with that approach. So, everybody knows my concept that everybody is still in high school. Some are PGs, but, they just keep coming back for more. But the thing is, you must be yourself. Mm-hmm. Well, I thank Dr. Natalie Forest immensely, and we've had a great time here. So, listeners, re-listen to this podcast. And for those of you listening as well, you can go to my website at askjoannevictoria.com and download a free copy of the True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life, something else that is free and available and you can use today. Thanks very much, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com and continue the conversation on her podcast page. And get a free copy of her book, The True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.